What's up, YouTube? My name is Parker from Wawa Echo, and we are here once again for the Raw rundown of this time, December 18th, 2017. And if you do not know, on the Raw rundown, I go through the Raw of the week and I say basically just my opinion. And for the good parts of Raw, I give an up, and for the down parts, I give a down, obviously. Um, so we're going to jump on in with Raw this week, and it saw Kurt Angle come out, and he was announcing the show and said that after the main event from the week before between Braun Strowman and Kane, after that came to a no contest, he was going to announce the new number one contender for the Universal title before the end of the night, but Braun Strowman and Kane were not happy with that, so both did come out and they argued on who should be the rightful number one contender, and eventually we did have Paul Heyman come out to introduce Brock Lesnar because he apparently had something to say, even though he didn't say anything at all. And so Brock comes down to the ring, and Kurt was probably the best part of this whole exchange because as soon as all three big guys got in the ring, Kurt was just kind of, he got all skittish and scared, and he was like, okay, the match for Royal Rumble is going to be a triple threat match, and then he like ran out, and it was funny. And then we did have Brock Lesnar get the upper hand against Kane and Braun Strowman. He clotheslined Braun Strowman out of the ring and then gave a F5 to Kane to start to show his dominance. We got to have the champ look strong, so that's all good, and especially for Angle's performance, just the way he kind of pulled off the fact that these guys were all really huge guys. I'm going to give the segment an up. The next part of the show was really annoying, and it was Seth Rollins supposed to be versus Samoa Joe. So Seth comes out, and he's waiting on Samoa Joe, but then Jason Jordan comes out, and he says, I know that you were booked in this match against Joe, but I want Joe. I've been wanting him for a couple weeks, and Kurt Angle has not allowed me to face him, so I'm going to face him right now, and you're not. And Rollins is obviously annoyed by this, and he's like, no, it's been confirmed I'm facing Joe tonight. I don't care about your whole thing. You can face him another time. And they argued for a bit. And then Joe came out, and Joe said that, why don't you guys just fight to see who's worth going up against me? And so that is what ended up happening. We had the match between Rollins and Jordan instead of Rollins and Joe. And for the whole segment there is getting a down. It was really really annoying. Jason Jordan was being very annoying. Obviously, this is growing towards this eventual heel turn, but it's just stupid because it's like, Seth Rollins was booked in this match. It was what Kurt Angle had assigned. It was what was supposed to happen, and so just because you are mad that you haven't been given the opportunity, you're just gonna get in the way, and it was just really annoying. I didn't like it at all. So that whole segment before the match is getting it down, like I said. But the match itself between Rollins and Jordan was pretty good, and so I'm going to give the match itself an up. There wasn't anything super memorable about it. It's just kind of your standard Raw match, but it was still good. And Rollins did end up winning at the end, which was the right decision. The weird thing about this whole exchange was whether it was going to be Rollins and Joe or Rollins and Jordan. They were all three booked for another match later on in the night, so it's kind of weird that they were going to have the two of them wrestling two matches in one night. It's not something you see very often. But the next we had, it was going to be a handicap match featuring Finn Balor versus The Miz, Taraj, Bo Dallas, and Curtis Axel. And this handicap match, it was a short segment, but it's getting it down. It's very annoying. Like I've said the past couple of weeks, it's really stupid that Finn Balor's in this feud with the Miz Taraj. It makes no sense. It's really random to have put him in this, and he deserves better, in all honesty. And the handicap match ended in Finn Balor technically getting the win because of disqualification, because both Miz Taraj started beating him up, and I guess the ref counted to 5 and threw the match out. And they continued to beat on Balor um, for a little bit, and then suddenly music hit, and it turned out to be Hideo Itami, which is very interesting because Hideo Itami has obviously been in NXT for a long time, and he has been uh, revealed. It was revealed about a month or so ago that he was going to be coming to 205 Live. So it was very weird that his debut on the main roster was a part of a segment that didn't have anything to do with the cruiserweights in 205 Live. So I don't know why they did it that way. Maybe they thought that his first showing to the audience that may not have seen him before, maybe if he wasn't associated with the cruiserweights for the very first time that he's shown, maybe he would get more liked. I don't know. Uh, but this did lead to a tag match between Balor and Itami versus the Miz Taraj, and I'm giving this match an up. Um, I haven't ever watched a match that had a Hideo Itami in it in NXT. That's kind of hard to say. Because I haven't seen a whole lot of NXT, and mostly I only watch the ones that are kind of in the main event and like seem to be the ones that are most likely to be called up to the main roster soonest. So Atami's been out on injury a lot, and so he hasn't gotten as much time to shine. So I haven't seen a match of his, but he was very impressive in this match. I thought he did really well, and it was cool. It was a good showing. He's hopefully going to be a good asset to 205 Live, and hopefully he'll be used correctly there, and maybe he'll be a big star. We'll have to see if you do watch 205 Live. But Hideo Itami did end up picking up the victory, which was cool. It was a cool moment. Still confusing why he was debuted, not a part of 205 Live, but it's whatever. Next, what we're going to talk about is to set up kind of. There was a cruiserweight match going on, and Enzo Amore was on commentary, and he got some kind of text message or something on his phone, and so he walked away. And it goes backstage, and Enzo finds Nia Jax, and they flirt for a little while, and it was very awkward and very cringeworthy, in my opinion, and they were eventually interrupted again by Drew Gulak. The segment's getting it down, and it's going to keep getting it down until it gets better. It's just it's so awkward. It's so weird. It's so cringeworthy. This whole romance thing. It's you know WWE is not known for its great romance storylines, and this is definitely not going to change that in any capacity. Next, we had Asuka versus Alicia Fox. It's getting it down. First of all, we've had this way too often. I'm tired of seeing Alicia Fox and Asuka going against each other, and I'm tired of, like I've said before, I'm tired of seeing a match go on with Asuka for like 3 minutes, and 2 minutes and 30 seconds of that is her selling someone else's offense, and then she hits two moves and ends the match in an armbar. It's not entertaining to me. I don't think it's showing Asuka very well because she's spending most all the match selling. Like the only good match that I think that Asuka's had was the one match she had, I think, with Dana Brooke, where she like jumped her and it was like a 6 second match and she like flew into an armbar and made her tap. That was awesome. And that's the kind of stuff you need to have Asuka do. She doesn't need to be selling. She needs to be done like Goldberg used to be, and she's been compared to Goldberg a lot, with obviously her undefeated streak. So I think you need to kind of do like you did with Goldberg. Goldberg didn't do a lot of selling. He just came in, he did his few moves, and he won. And I think that's kind of what you need to do with Asuka as well. So we'll see if that ends up happening. Probably not though. Next up, we did have a 6-man 3-on-3 tag match, which did feature the people from before that I was talking about. We had Sheamus, Cesaro, and Samoa Joe versus Rollins, Ambrose, and Jason Jordan. Um, and I was surprised that there wasn't any. It didn't seem like there was anything uh, between Rollins and Jordan from their match before, which I kind of thought would have happened, but I don't remember seeing that at all. And the match was really good. All 6 of these guys are incredible athletes and incredible wrestlers, and so the match is obviously getting up. One thing that did suck in it was that Dean Ambrose was he had like a kind of a cast, a brace on his arm, um, and Rollins went for a dive, and Ambrose did get hit, and it looked like he might have hit his elbow on the floor there, and so he got medical attention to him, and we then saw Rollins, I believe, take a bro kick and then get pins, making the heels the winners. And later on, we had a backstage segment where Samoa Joe came in and attacked Rollins and then attacked Ambrose as well. And this was because Ambrose has a legitimate injury, a some sort of tricep injury, and he had a successful surgery earlier this week, and so everything seems to have went well with it. But they did say that there's a possibility that he could be out for up to 6 months. Hopefully, that's an over exaggeration. That's kind of how WWE likes to do sometimes, where they want you to not really know exactly when they could be coming back. But it's definitely possible that Ambrose could be missing WrestleMania next year, which would be super disappointing, um, especially with what's happened so far with the whole Shield reunion, how it's not really gone to plan. Well, with Roman Reigns getting very sick before, and then now this, it's disappointing, but it'll be interesting what WWE does with it. Now that they've wrote Joe as the attacker. He did get injured before Raw this week, but storyline they made it so that Joe is the one that took him out, which is good because it gives Joe more legitimacy. That's how he debuted, was by injuring Rollins, and so there's definitely storylines that you could go with later on if they decide to. Um, Next up, we had, in my opinion, the best segment of the night, and maybe the best segment of Raw for the whole year. I'm not sure. It could have been. Earlier in the night before this, we had a Bray Wyatt promo, and I didn't really think to give it an up or down just because it was your average Bray Wyatt promo, nothing really special at all, talking about Matt Hardy. But then we had a promo where we had Woken Matt Hardy, and he's playing chess. And it goes over and it reveals that his opponent is a goldfish. And apparently, this goldfish is Napoleon in a reincarnated state. And this was just hilarious. Matt was so great in this. It was so funny. It had me rolling, and he was talking to the fish, and he was like, Napoleon, you've always had such a thing about your small vessels. And it was so great. It was so funny, and that's the kind of thing that they need to do with Woken Matt. It doesn't need to be something that's taken super seriously. You need to allow Matt to really take charge and really go with the humor with it, because that's what's going to make this big. And so I think this was a great start. And after that, he did cut a promo. It was really good too, and it's really cool. I'm really excited to see Woken Matt continue, and hopefully 2018 will be the year of Woken Matt. But this promo is getting a huge up. It was fantastic. Next, we had Heath Slater and Rhino. They were coming for a match, and their opponents were revealed, and it was the Revival who did return. Of course, the Revival has had an unlucky few months as well since they debuted on the main roster. I believe it was Dawson was injured months ago, I think in like May, and then he came back. But then the other one, Dawson and Wilder, I think was the one that was injured second. He got injured, I believe, in August, and so we haven't seen them for a while. So it's really cool to see them back. And they had a good match against Heath and Rhino, and they looked really dominant. And I'm hoping that, especially with Ambrose getting injured, we're going to need a new team to go in for the tag team title. So hopefully the Revival will be that team, and maybe we could even see Cesaro and Sheamus return to faces. That would be great. More so for Cesaro than Sheamus. But the match was really great, and the Revival obviously won as was needed. So this whole thing is getting an up. Next, we had Elias, who was in the ring, and he declared himself as the first person to enter into the Royal Rumble match, and then which was cool. And then he started to play a song, and then he got interrupted by Sasha Banks, and then Mickie James, and then Bayley. And it was funny. Elias is obviously very funny in his delivery and everything, and so it's getting an up. And then we're going to give a special up to Michael Cole, who actually was funny for once. When Bayley came out, obviously she has her inflatable men things, the Bayley Buddies, I think they're called, and one of them wouldn't come up. It was like I guess it didn't get enough air, and so she tried to push it up, but it wouldn't go. And Michael Cole was like, "Oh, that one's like Booker T's commentary. It's flat." I rolled. It was so hilarious. It was great because it's so true. Booker T sucks at commentary. So kudos to Michael Cole. You get your own up. I think that's the first up he's ever gotten. So kudos, clap for Michael. Then this led to a 3-on-3 women's tag match between Banks Bayley and Mickie James up against Absolution. And the match itself is getting up. It was pretty good. Nothing super special, but we did see some really good heel work between Absolution, where the ref would get distracted and we'd see them hit the faces from behind. Obviously, like you see a lot, but it's good. It's good to keep their dominance up. But I'm also giving it down, and I believe this was because the match ended up, believe in like a DQ. I can't really remember exactly what happened, but I believe it was a DQ. And or no, Absolution won. That's what it was. Absolution won, and then they started beating up on the faces, and then all the other women came out to attack Absolution, and that's getting it down just because it's a repeat from the week beforehand. And I think, like I said before, I think it's a mistake to put Absolution in that position to where they could get beaten down, because they're supposed to look really dominant, and that's not going to help things. But then we came to everyone was beating up on each other, and then Stephanie McMahon's music hits, and she comes to the ring, and everybody calms down, and Stephanie does end up announcing that this next year, 2018, the Royal Rumble will have the first ever all women's Royal Rumble match, which is a historic thing, obviously, as we've been told. It's really great. It's something that people have been asking for a couple years now, and I think it's well deserved. The women are all very talented. I write a lot of times. Me and Zach will complain about some stuff, but overall, they're all very talented women, and some of the most talented that WWE has ever had. And so I think they're well deserving of their own Royal Rumble. And it'll be interesting any returns we might have. There's been hints at maybe Trish Stratus and Beth Phoenix, maybe Lita. That'd be pretty great. So all in all, this was obviously an awesome announcement, and it's going to be exciting to see what happens. Hopefully it'll be great. Hopefully they'll be given the chance to shine and really be given the time to allow for a lot of awesome spots. So it'll be a really great first bout, and hopefully a man won't win this one, like the Money in the Bank match that we had this year. That would be disappointing. Or a man in drag, like we had another Rumble at WrestleMania a few years back, where I believe Santino Morello won dressed in drag. That was weird. But with that, does conclude Raw for this week. And overall, this was a great Raw. If you see from the ups and downs, the ups have 10, while the downs have 5. So obviously, a very great Raw. There's a lot of awesome wrestling. We had the return of the Revival, the debut of Hideo Itami, Michael Cole actually being funny, Stephanie McMahon announcing a huge historic match. So a really great Raw, and it's going to be cool to see how we continue building towards Royal Rumble with the announcement of the Universal title match, and obviously the Women's Royal Rumble. We're going to see that to start to develop, and I'm sure women announce themselves into the match. So that's all going to be great. So overall, a really great Raw. I really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section if you guys enjoyed Raw, or if there was stuff that I said that was great that you didn't agree with. Let us know. We'd love to hear about it. And if you did enjoy this video, please hit that like button. We'd really appreciate it. And if you don't want to miss any of the Raw rundowns that we have, or any SmackDown surveys that Zach will be bringing, then make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of them. But with that, guys, I'm going to get on out of here. I'm Parker from Wild Echo, and I'll see you very soon. Peace.